Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of QuickType Inside Out, where we look at the internals of QuickType and also do some programming. We hope that you will find this interesting, edifying, and hopefully at some point you'll contribute to QuickType yourself. Before we get started, if you've just stumbled across this and you've never heard of QuickType, I'm going to show you what it is. QuickType is a tool that infers the structure of some JSON input data that you give it, and it generates code in maybe your favorite programming language with those types, and it also generates code for serializing and unserializing that JSON data. So for example, let's look at the Pokédex. We can see we have all the Pokemons in here. We have all of these evolution stages. Note also that it's kind of smart about figuring out that the previous evolution and the next evolution stages are the same type, so it only makes an evolution type. It figures out that one is called next evolution and the other is called previous evolution, then probably the type is called evolution. And we do lots of other things like that to make the output nicer to look at and nicer to work with. And we'll get into all of that eventually, I hope. So now that you know what QuickType is, how do you get it on your computer to work on it? Well, turns out it's on GitHub. I would suggest that you fork it, but I'm going to be lazy right now, and I'm just going to clone this repository. So obviously you need Git installed. Fortunately, it comes with macOS. There's packages for Linux, obviously, for very easy installation. So now we have QuickType, and what I want to do is I want to build the command line client, which is all that's in this repo. The other prerequisite that we need is npm, the node package manager. I have 530 installed. If you don't have that, you can get that from Brew, which is highly recommended on macOS. On Linux, obviously, you can just install a package for pretty much every distribution. So to build QuickType, all we have to do is do quick npm install, and it will download all the prerequisite packages. It will download the PureScript compiler, which is the programming language that QuickType itself is installed in. And then we should have the command line client ready to go and show off. I should tell you about another thing that we, at least if you want to work on QuickType, recommend, which is Visual Studio Code, which is a really nice editor. And one of the main reasons for that we use Visual Studio Code for QuickType is that it provides pretty nice integration, as we'll see. In fact, it provides auto-completion to some degree, but also a facility for automatically recompiling whenever you change code, which is really handy. All right, everything's been downloaded and compiled, so we should be able to call the QuickType command line client in script QuickType, and indeed we can. So as you can see, if you call it, you can tell it which programming language you want output, and then you give it some files. So we're going to try this out. We're going to take some JSON from here. Let's take Reddit. Is that a big file? Yeah, it's reasonably big. Let's take that and put it. Oh, I am in desktop. On desktop QuickType. Cat to Reddit JSON. Actually, I could have. I don't even have to do that because the whole thing is included in QuickType, but just to show you that there's no shenanigans going on. Wow, this is a really big file. Okay, so calling script QuickType, we're gonna output go, lang go, and the file is desktop reddit.json. And there we go. There are the go types for this this JSON structure, and it gives you nice instructions for how to marshal and unmarshal, as the gophers, I'm sorry, call it. So let's actually check out Visual Studio Code as well. When you run Visual Studio Code and you open the QuickType folder for the first time, it should show you a few extension recommendations which we recommend you install. In particular, the one for PureScript. TS-lint, TS stands for TypeScript, our test driver, and a few other parts. The command line driver are written in TypeScript, which also compiles to JavaScript. And this is like some nice linting that shows you errors, or things that you might not know are errors, or maybe are errors, potentially errors. So we need to reload this window, and then we are ready to go. So let's actually change some code. So as you could see, when we called this command line client, it told us about these C# options, and I just want to show you that when you edit code, it's actually going to recompile, and we can change some of this to read something else, just so we know our edits had some effect. So let's go to source language C#, and as you can see here, these options are defined here. We're going to get into what all of this means later. For now, all you need to know is that if I change this, then that should show up on the command line. So I just saved it. Let's go over and call it again. And hooray, Poco is now somewhat experimental. There we go. You're now ready to be a QuickType developer. In episode 2, we're gonna actually start looking at some code and do some programming. So I'll see you then. Bye.